The Lavender Odyssey by John W. Lavender. Ulysses. To follow knowledge like a sinking star, beyond the utmost bound of human thought. Alfred Lord Tennyson. Chapter 1. Springtime of our meeting. The first time we met was outside Grant Hall, Queen's University, waiting to see Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. It was in 1972, a good number of years after the Beatles and Mia Farrow folderol. I had traveled to Kingston with my ex. We had just split, but our mutual interest in attending the conference had brought us together, at least for the sake of transportation and convenience. Conference participants had separate rooms, and in our spare time we were supposed to be resting, not cruising or hooking up. I was not looking for any involvement with anyone, casual or otherwise. In hindsight, several notable images stuck in my memory from that summer. One of them was Micah L. She was wearing a billowy dress and carried a basket on her hip. The basket was a signature piece, you might say. She looked like she had just stepped out of a pre-Raphaelite painting. Her accent was Southern, another turn-on for me. I don't know why, a racial memory from another life, perhaps. The attraction was there. She was fascinated by my embroidered jean jacket, which set me apart from the suits. For me, the jacket was an art statement. The image on the back of the jacket was Quetzalcoatl, and on the sleeves and pockets were other ancient motifs. Double-headed serpents, wings of Ahura Mazda, kundalini, chakras, mushrooms, stars, and rainbows. It was all very cosmic, and at that time, very cool. Micah L. had sparkly energy, and was a mother hen type. She would gather her brood after reserving seats for them. The best seats are up front, she said. I preferred to sit close to the back. Micah L. was in constant battle with the Gestapo, as she called them, the TM security in suits, who thought they were in charge of everybody, where they could sit and where they could stand. But then she often asked questions on the mic, which gave her entree to the front of the auditorium. I never asked any questions, and so you might say we were opposites in that respect. In truth, we both saw ourselves as separate from the herd. However, our viewpoints were vastly different. After the symposium, I decided to train as a TM teacher in Spain. However, as a penniless teacher of TM, I found it difficult to survive. Instead of being a penniless artist, I'd become a penniless TM teacher, tenuous to say the least. And then an opportunity arose as a manager of printing at the National TM headquarters in Ottawa. I applied and got the job. I was now doing what I loved. Being on staff had its perks, and at the same time, I was not as regimented as those closer to the source. The incentive was going on an all-expenses-paid refresher course every 6 months. That meant I earned a livable wage and got to be with Maharishi twice a year. At first, it was life-changing, but after a while, the excitement wore off, and it became just another workday. In the interim, I had a couple of romantic interludes that ended badly. It was all vaguely familiar. Nothing in reality had changed. I was viewing a similar scenario from a different reference point. After working 6 months at Maharishi International Academy, I was on my way to Switzerland. The idea of being a part of a spiritual jet set appealed to me. First, I drove to New York City to deliver printed materials to the center, and then caught a taxi to the airport. From New York, I flew to Zurich on Pan Am and boarded a train to a ferry. From the ferry, I traveled west along Lake Luzerne and then got a bus to the Grand Hotel. All modes of transportation, road, air, and water. Entering the lobby of the Grand, I found a few stragglers around the check-in desk, mainly young Americans. The hotel desk clerk was French. "Is not possible," she screeched. An argument ensued between the desk clerk and a frustrated course participant. It looked like it might take a while to sort out. I left my luggage and walked into the foyer. The foyer was spacious, with windows facing the lake. The decor included potted palms and antique chairs, upholstered in rich brocade. I was attracted to a grand piano sitting in the corner of the room and sat down on the piano stool. The temptation was too much for me. I opened the keyboard cover and timidly tinkled a few notes. No one seemed to be around, and so I got bolder. Like a child playing chopsticks, whenever the opportunity arose, I played my version of Bach, imitating the style of John Lewis from the Modern Jazz Quartet. A female voice from behind me said, "The piano is off limits." I turned around and was met by the eyes from a familiar face. "It's you," she exclaimed in her southern drawl. Not really a drawl. I said that for effect. "I'm sorry, I didn't know. I've just arrived." "We are not allowed to play the piano, let alone bang on it." "You mean play." "Whatever you call it. The management doesn't want us to touch the piano in any way." "What are you doing here?" "I'm on course, of course," I said jauntily. "I must be your course leader then. And lunch is in the dining room in half an hour, so you better get moving." Our paths had crossed once more. Nevertheless, I always felt a husband lurking somewhere in the background. Later in the dining room, I found Michael engaged in conversation with several participants, mainly guys. I filled my food tray with a salad and a bowl of asparagus soup. The salad contained nasturtiums and wild herbs, and then walked between the long rows of tables to where Michael was, surrounded by her male admirers. "Hi," I said, and casually moved on as though I was passing through. She looked at my tray and said, "You can't eat that." "Why not?" I replied with fake bewilderment. "Let me look, because," she said, hesitating, "you're mixing fruit with vegetables." We met again later in the hallway. I was in my dressing gown on my way to the bathroom and said something awkward and inappropriate. She smiled politely. Behind the bathroom door, I kicked myself, but I could tell she liked me. That night, I dreamt about her. It was a bizarre, lucid dream. I saw her in a black dress, and I was looking at her through her umbilical cord. What Freud or Jung might say about that, I could only guess. Between sessions, I would walk down to the town, which is a well-known spa. I seemed to bump into her at every turn. There was always a spark that ignited whenever we got close to each other. I never gave the other guys hovering around another thought. That was because I knew Michael and I had a deeper connection. Our first rendezvous was on the golf course behind the hotel. We were alone, at last. We talked freely as we strolled along the paths. She also said that she had 4 children. My reaction to this news was like an exploding thunderbolt. However, from that moment on, I knew we would marry. In some strange way, I thought, if I had been a woman, I might have had a similar history. First, we were both in our early 30s, and second, because a woman of her age who hadn't had notches on her bedpost would be suspect in my eyes. It didn't occur to me that from her perspective, I didn't have any notches to speak of myself. This conviction led me to prepare for our next date. I bought a large bowl of African violets and collected as many candles as I could find. And I set them up in my room so there would be no need for electric light. I bought raspberries, strawberries, cream, and other delicacies. It was to be a romantic interlude, and being in Switzerland added another level of ambience, you might say. I invited her to my room. It seemed like the most natural thing to do. I didn't have a plan to seduce her or anything like that. She knocked on the door, she entered, and the candlelight did the rest. We made love. It was as natural as anything could be, a consummation of our union that had begun with a mental climax on the golf course.